Heartbreak Hotel once again for the San Antonio Spurs, this time in Orlando tonight as the Spurs fall once again by 1 to the Orlando Magic. 112-111. Paolo Banchero with the game winner, and Victor Wembanyama's shot falls off the rim at the end as we continue Spurs Live. Dan Weiss, TJ Ford with you back inside our Spurs Live studios. And again, TJ, take me through the end of the game here. Spurs, 24 seconds on the shot. It was 24.7 basically. And then, the Spurs are basically going to take this one all the way down here to the end of the game here. First you're going to see the Victor make. That gave the Spurs the lead. And then Banchero comes back with this tough fadeaway jumper. Now it's 24.7 left in the game clock here. And the Magic have the foul to give. They take it. And that gives you 12 seconds left, and that's what sets up this Victor Wembanyama last-second attempt.
Well, I think what was unique, Orlando Magic had that foul to give, right? And then once they gave that foul, what happened is we had to switch sides. Remember, we kind of talked about that before the game, about being able to switch your offense to cater towards De'Aaron Fox being a left-handed player. So once they had that foul to give, we switched the ball to the opposite side, and now that kind of threw the rhythm off the spacing with De'Aaron Fox, because now he has more room to go to his right hand, which what happens at the last possession, you would see it puts Wemby in a tough spot because he doesn't have enough spacing to operate, knowing he's the guy that likes to go left when he shoots his mid-range jump shot. And you had De'Aaron Fox, man, right there in his lap that kind of took the spacing away, but it also talked about, reverting the offense from one side to the next, and down the stretch it kind of threw our guys out of, the spacing and the rhythm that it took for us to be able to get a really better shot.
Send it back out to the Kia Center. Jacob Toby, Sean Elliott. 3 out of the last 4 losses have been by a combined 4 points for the Spurs.
Yeah, Dan, it stinks. Another heartbreaker here. It stinks that it was on back-to-back nights in Charlotte last night, here in Orlando tonight. The Spurs coming in this game tonight, 10-12 in clutch games. Fox shot doesn't count in Charlotte, then Wemby just doesn't get it to go. He was making that shot all game long, though, wasn't he?
Yeah, and really, it was a lot of the little things that added up. Franz Wagner there with an offensive rebound, manages to call the timeout. We've got to come down with that board. It's tough to watch our guys lose in this fashion, but there are a lot of little things they could have cleaned up there in the fourth quarter, and that's the fine line between winning and losing in this league. You got to do all the little things. It's not always the last-second shot. It's getting key rebounds, getting key stops, and we weren't able to do that down the stretch.
Yeah, well, Devin Vassell tried to will his team to a win. Man, when he gets going, he's tough to stop.
Well, he really played an outstanding ball game. Very efficient, 11 of 14 from the field. And, he was just smart about the way he scored the ball tonight. He found himself with a lot of mismatches, and he took advantage. Rolled past Isaacs there. Arias does a great job running the floor. That was a huge 3-ball. At that point, I thought the game was pretty much in the bag, but we weren't able to get enough stops down the stretch.
25 points for Devin Vassell. Hit 3 tray balls tonight. You go to Washington. You won't, but work with me here.
Right.
You go to Washington. You go to Boston. All-Star break. What needs to happen in these next 2 games to feel some momentum as you head into that break?
You have to keep your focus. That's the biggest thing. Problem with some of our old Spurs teams, you're going into All-Star break, and the guys that aren't All-Stars, you're not going to the big game or the weekend. You're thinking about your vacation time. You're going to go sit on the beach for a few days. You're going to get away from it, and then you forget that you have a job to do. Don't let Washington sneak up on you. That's a little bit of a trap game there. You've lost these 2 games late in the ball game. You can go in there and you look at that team. They got the worst record in the league, and you figure, well, this is going to be an easy one. You end up cruising like you did in Charlotte early on. You find yourself in a dogfight. Then, of course, you have Boston, who's the defending champions, and maybe they're have a little bit of a championship hangover, but they can still get it done. And believe me, with Fox coming in there and Victor Wembanyama, they're going to be amped up, and so is that arena.
You gonna miss me?
Of course.
Well, I'll see you in Austin. That's the next time I'll see you.
Yeah, I'll think about you often when it's nice and sunny and you're in your hotel room with the rest of the crew. in that fine blizzard.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yes.
We send you to the bench. We bring PJ Carlesimo off the bench. We'll see him in Washington. The last time the Spurs and the Wizards faced off, Wemby scored 50 points. We'll send it back to Dan and TJ in the studio.
Yeah, bad news for you, Sean. It's getting cold down here again next week, so it may not be a blizzard, but it's not going to be 80 either.
That's okay.
It's not going to be 30s. I can give you that one.
60s,
we'll see you back here.
60s good weather, Dan.
Yeah, that's true. You can get your 5-iron out there and start shooting. There you go. All right, we'll see Sean back here. We'll see Jacob out with PJ Carlesimo in Washington as the Spurs Rodeo road trip rolls on. Yeah, it's interesting. You know, the Spurs obviously, as Keldon Johnson. We'll talk more about this coming up on the other side here. Keldon Johnson. Spurs fall short, 112-111. More on Spurs Live. We continue after this. 112-111, the final. Franz Wagner, a game-high 33-25 for Devin Vassell in the loss. As we continue Spurs Live, Dan Weiss, TJ Ford back inside our Spurs Live studios. And, I mean, this has been, you know, a crazy 4 days, TJ, for the Spurs because it's 3 consecutive games decided by a single point. They win in Atlanta Wednesday night by 1. They lose last night by 1. They lose tonight by 1.
It just shows you how good this league is, and you get an opportunity to try to close out and put guys away, and you got big-time players, and you look at the opportunity of having one shot to be able to win the game last night, and you come back down to it comes to one possession again tonight. So that's just the difference between playoff teams and teams not in the playoffs. It's that fine line of just one possession.
I don't know if it's irony or not that when they get De'Aaron Fox, his first 3 games are all 1-point games, Mr. Clutch himself.
Yeah, it is, and I just think what he brings, the value that he brings, he gives you opportunity to be in a game and have opportunity to win that game. And I just think down the line as they get more repetition with each other, when they get around each other a little bit more and get that chemistry, I think that these things and these shots and these moments will go the other way.
So you were all over this play when we were watching it back here in the studio. This was what set up the game winner for Paolo Banchero. Now watch Franz Wagner here. He's going to call timeout. Of course, this was disputed by the Spurs. And you see the referee kind of looking at Wagner's left foot, and he signals immediately as Wagner goes for the timeout motion, and then he looks up, TJ, and he gives him the timeout, obviously. That ended up leading to the extra possession for Orlando. But, yeah, you were all over this play because you were saying players couldn't do this. They stopped being allowed to do this when you were still playing.
Yeah, I remember the rule when we was playing. They kind of took that out. So, for me, I kind of felt that was going to go the Spurs' way because the rules didn't allow it. But, obviously, he did a good job of having his foot down, and the ref was able to make the call, and they did not change it. So, when you look at that, though, you had opportunities where that play wouldn't have happened, right?
Sure.
And those are the things that we have been talking about of the physicality on both ends and being able to, play for the entire the shot clock. So when you look at tonight, being able to get offense, too many offensive rebounds by Orlando, giving them second chance opportunities, allowed something like this to happen.
Yeah, Wagner made a ton of winning plays throughout the game en route to his 33 here tonight. Harrison Barnes was on one from the start of the game. He makes a season-high 7 3-pointers, 21 for the night for HB. We wrap up Spurs Live on the other side.
Yes, when you look at the final 2 possessions, you're going to probably say you probably can't get better defense than Harrison had on Paolo and probably couldn't get a better look than you got from Vic. Is that sort of your view of how the end of that game went down?
Yeah, I thought there were a couple plays probably prior to that. Obviously the last plays get a lot of attention, rightfully so. But, yeah, I thought we, when you get stops like that at the end of the game, to give them extra possessions is tough. And just, crunch time execution. So it's just something that we have to continue to improve upon because that's how close these games are in the balance. Whether it was a free throw blockout in the first half that didn't feel like that had the attention of the last play, it's a possession, right? And so those are the things that we have to continue to improve upon.
Overall, how do you think the team handled the size that the Magic can throw at you in all kinds of positions?
I thought we did a good job for the most part. I thought there's a few stretches there where we had some turnovers, especially in the paint with their length, whether it's, maybe more bounce passes and airtime, we have to keep a dribble, but they're a good defensive team. So, it's not an outlier, but I thought for the most part, we tried to screen, we tried to keep the integrity of our spacing and play out of that and play in space. I thought we missed some good shots and, I thought we gave ourselves a chance to win. It's just a few of those possessions here and there that we just, that's the NBA.
What was running through your mind as Harrison Barnes rattled off 6 straight threes in that first quarter, then went kind of quiet later on?
We haven't always done a good job of acknowledging and then trying to ride a hot hand. Guy hits 2 or 3, and then sometimes they won't even get the basketball again. Not intentionally, just we haven't done a good job sometimes. When the guy gets hot like that, you need to ride that as much and as long as you can. I thought we did a good job of trying to continue to get him the ball in that stretch.
Can you talk a little bit about Franz? I think he finished with 33 points and 12 rebounds.
Yeah, he was, he was relentless. He kept attacking. I thought for the most part, there's a few times where we could have shifted onto him and showed him a little bit more of a crowd. A few times, we were really emphasizing for Victor to meet him at the rim. But he did a good job. He did a really good job.
Thank you. Oh, I have one more question. Obviously, it's still early in this trade and just everybody getting adjusted to one another. But what can you kind of say about the team's chemistry so far? 3 straight games, 1 score. Just how do you think they're gelling so far?
I think the guys are really trying to play together and learn each other and play unselfish. So, it is a competitive sport and you want it all right now, but patience will win out. And I believe those guys are going about it the right way.
And just the poise from Stephon Castle. I think it's 8 straight games in double digits. Just what have you kind of seen from him in his rookie season?
He's doing great. He's showing a lot of signs of improvement, and there's a lot of room for him to continue to improve. So it's good things.
San Antonio Spurs basketball on FanDuel Sports Network is brought to you by Whataburger. Your favorite burger whenever you want it. Whataburger is open 24/7, just like you like it. Spurs Live continues back inside the studio. Dan and TJ with you as Mitch Johnson with his thoughts after this game here tonight. All right, TJ, so it's on to Washington. And maybe a week and a half ago, you might say, okay, that's a W, chalk it up. Wizards lose tonight. It was the second night of a back-to-back, but they gave Cleveland everything they could handle last night at home. And prior to that, had won 3 consecutive games, whereas before they had only won 6 for the entirety of the season.
I mean, you got to have respect. These guys got respect for themselves. They are NBA basketball players. And when you have teams that's not doing well, at any moment they can compete and be sharp if you're not on your A game. So going into, this Wizards game, you got to be locked in. Anything can happen. Jordan Poole is playing really, really well, putting up shots. And these guys are getting opportunities to showcase their talent. And when you got a team that's, don't have any hopes for playoff, aspirations, then you got guys on the team that's going to go out, they're going to play hard, they're going to have an opportunity to be able to showcase their talent, not only for the Wizards, but also for the other teams around the league.
That'll be Monday night, 5:30. We'll get you started with Spurs Live. Tip time, 6 o'clock from Capital One Arena. Spurs of the Washington Wizards as the rodeo road trip rolls on, heading up the Mid-Atlantic and eventually landing in the Northeast in Boston before coming back home for the All-Star break. Tonight, another heartbreaker for the Spurs as they fall by 1 once again, despite 25 from Devin Vassell, who missed only 3 shots. 21 for Harrison Barnes at a season-high 7 3-pointers and 18, 9, and 4 blocks for Victor Wembanyama. 112-111 the final for TJ Ford, Jacob Toby, Sean Elliott, our entire crew. I'm Dan Weiss saying so long. We'll talk to you Monday night from our nation's capital. Have a great night, everybody.